Thank you, mister.
Tuffy, where's that damn file?
I beg your pardon, Mr. Bennett. Which file was that?
The Calthorpe transfer. I asked for the papers an hour ago.
Miss Tuff?
The relevant documents are in Mr. Roberts' in tray.
Sometimes I wonder if that woman was actually born like the rest of us. I think she was knitted by the Ministry of Labour. She could have told me an hour ago that you had the wretched file, but oh no, not our Tuffy.
Neville? Do you ever feel that you've been left out?
What of what?
Life? What's going on out there?
Can't say I do, old chap. What?
Don't you ever feel this is it? This is all you're ever going to have? This, that?
Dearie me, what brought this on?
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps I need a holiday.
You need a holiday, Robert. Aha.
Wills, conveyancing, investments, more wills. What happened to life? The most exciting thing I've done since VE day is fall off a horse.
Well, at least we got through it in one piece, old man.
It's the inevitability of it all. Even down to Miss Tuff's biscuit routine. Have you never noticed? Digestive Tuesday and Thursday, ginger Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Never varies. Summer or winter, hell or high water.
You seem a bit put out. Why don't you call it a day?
Don't be ridiculous, Neville. It's only 4 o'clock.
Good Lord, Robert. Senior partners, old chap, can do what they like.
Impudent lackey. Blair, Hayward & Bennett. Robert Blair speaking.
I'm so glad to have caught you, Mr. Blair. I thought you might have gone for the day. My name's Sharp, Marion Sharp. I'd rather not explain over the telephone what's happened, but I'm afraid I'm in trouble and I need a lawyer. I mean, I need one now, this minute. Will you come, Mr. Blair? I'd be so grateful. I live with my mother and the franchise. I'm sure you know the place, about a mile out of Milford on the Loughborough Road. Mr. Blair, I'm Marion Sharp.
Good afternoon.
Come in, please.
I'm afraid I left the gates open. I hope that's all right.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm more grateful than I can say. Inspector Hallam gave me your name. We haven't been in Milford very long, you see.
Well, I know you and your mother by sight. Or at least that splendid car of yours.
The police are in here.
I take it it's nothing to do with your car. When people say they're in trouble in Milford, it generally means one of two things. Either an affiliation order or an offence against the traffic laws.
I doubt if Scotland Yard are terribly interested in minor traffic offences.
Scotland Yard?
I haven't murdered anyone, if that's what you're thinking.
The point is, are you supposed to have murdered someone?
I'm supposed to have kidnapped someone. You know Inspector Hallam, of course.
John?
And this is Detective Inspector Grant.
Glad you could come, Mr. Blair. Couldn't very well proceed until Miss Sharp had some kind of support.
Is there to be a charge, Inspector?
I'm supposed to have abducted and beaten up someone. Beaten her black and blue, apparently.
Beaten her?
That girl sitting outside in the car.
Perhaps I'd better do the explaining, Miss Sharp.
Yes, do. After all, it's your story. Sit down, Mr. Blair.
Will your mother be joining us?
I hope not. She lies down in the afternoon. I'm hoping we can get this whole business over and done with before she wakes up.
Yes. Just before Easter, Mr. Blair, a 15-year-old schoolgirl called Elizabeth Kane, who lives near Birmingham, went to spend a short holiday with a married aunt who lives in Loughborough. She went by coach because they passed right through Loughborough, and she'd be within a few minutes' walk of her aunt's house when she got off. After she'd been with her aunt for a week, Mrs. Wynne received a postcard from the girl.
Mrs. Wynne?
The girl's parents were killed in an air raid in '43. Mrs. Wynne's a legal guardian.
Now, in this postcard, the girl said she was having a lovely time and was going to stay on at her aunt's for a bit. When she hadn't arrived home the day before she was due back at school, Mrs. Wynne telegraphed to find out what was going on. She learned that Elizabeth had stayed on in Loughborough for only 3 days after sending that card. Her aunt had seen her off at the coach stop on her way home 2 weeks previously.
It's on the 28th of March.
Mrs. Wynne went straight to the police, of course, but given the time it took for the telegrams to go back and forth, it was almost 3 weeks before anyone realized anything was wrong. And then one night she turned up, suddenly, late at night on the doorstep, in a terrible state.
20th of April.
And I mean terrible, Mr. Blair. Some of the bruises were still visible much later, when she made her statement to me. That child had been very extensively knocked about. It was a week before the police had a full statement from her. To begin with, all they could get was that she'd been kidnapped. She was completely hysterical.
From where had she been kidnapped?
The coach stop.
I thought you said her aunt put her onto the coach.
No, only to the stop. The coach was late.
The suggestion is, Mr. Blair, that my mother and I enticed a schoolgirl into our car and then into this house, and that we beat her almost senseless every time she tried to escape.
If you don't mind, Miss Sharp.
Do you wonder that I wanted help in a hurry?
The girl says in her statement that while she waited at the coach stop, it started to get dark and then to rain. The coach was very late, or at least that's what she thought. Then a car pulled up at the curb. At first, she could only see the driver, a woman wearing a bright silk scarf around her neck. She asked the girl if she wanted a lift. The woman told her that the Birmingham coach had already gone, but she could get another from Mains Hill in about 40 minutes. She was very grateful for the offer of a lift and got in beside an older woman in the back. Very little was said on the journey. The older woman never spoke at all. It wasn't until the car suddenly left the main road that the girl realized they were no longer heading towards Mains Hill. The younger woman told her she still had plenty of time before the coach left. Enough time for a cup of tea. Soon after that, they pulled off the road. The younger woman got out and opened some large iron gates. Then the car was driven up a drive to the house. It was too dark for her to see what it looked like. They went through a hallway first, and then into a large kitchen where the younger woman made her a cup of coffee, not tea.
Is it difficult to entice anyone on the way out here? You're not looking for any work, are you?